Hi, I'm Sarah, and I'm the Director of Student Development at Trails Momentum.
Hi, and I'm Dan, and I'm a primary therapist at Trails Momentum.
And we're here to talk to you today about dropping out of college. Whether you're a young adult considering dropping out of college or a parent of a young adult who's struggling with this decision, it's something that you need to take some time to think about. So we'd like to share some of our thoughts with you and give you some more ideas before you make that decision.
So, Sarah, how common is it?
It's actually really common, more common than most of us think. So there's like this myth that you go off to college and you're just going to go through your 4 or 5 years and finish. But today, in 2018, most students who start college at a 4-year school are not going to finish within 6 years.
Wow.
In fact, 60% of students who start school do not complete their bachelor's degree.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
60%.
60%. So it's over half. And, socioeconomics don't play that big of a role. Even with middle class and upper class families, that number is still 50%. 50% of those families still have a young adult who doesn't complete that bachelor's degree in 6 years.
Well, of course, then the next step for me is I wonder why. Why do you think? Why is that?
Yeah, so the first reason is socioeconomic reason. A lot of young adults find that there's the economics of it are just too overbearing for them. But if we set that aside, there's actually a lot of young adults who have other reasons for not completing, and that includes not being academically ready, not being emotionally ready, and feeling like they just can't handle the stress and the burden of attending school and trying to maintain social relationships and be the person that they were when they were maybe not taking on so much academic work. So our young adults today who are not academically prepared, that again is a really high number. When we look at college students across the board, so that includes community college as well as transfer institutions, again, that number for those needing remedial education or developmental education is 60%. So over half of our students who graduate high school and try to go to college are told you're actually not academically ready for college.
Wow.
And so we have young adults today going into a college setting and their test scores got them in, their grades got them in, and then they sit down in that biology class or that math class, and then they realize they don't have the study skills, they don't have the academic habits of mind, they may not have the background knowledge to be successful in that introductory level class, and that's devastating.
Yeah.
So a lot of young adults are, failing a course or two or withdrawing from a course or two, and then they're choosing to remove themselves from that college experience.
Well, I would think colleges would somehow know this and want to respond. What do you find? What are they doing?
Well, so in terms of the academic response, there's definitely a lot more proactive advisement going on. They're getting better and better at identifying what are some of the key academic behaviors they should see, and they put some things into place like a required orientation class, for example, that helps students identify their study skill gaps. They have what we call supplemental instruction courses now, where they can go to tutoring right after class with somebody who sits in on the class. They have a lot more learning support services offered for students of all abilities, so students can feel more comfortable going in and getting additional assistance academically. But then that other part of being not ready for school, that emotional lack of readiness, there's also a lot of assistance coming from the counseling centers. So there's more staffing in counseling centers today than there were 10 years ago because they've had such an uptick. And there are more like group sessions, and there's more approaches from the mental health side for how to help students cope with some of the stresses of being in college. So colleges and universities, clearly they have a vested interest in making sure that students persist and matriculate and graduate, and so they're trying to get involved. But even college counseling centers will admit that sometimes there are things that they just can't help with.
They can't help.
And sometimes encouraging a student to take a leave of absence or to drop out altogether is perhaps the best choice at that time for that student.
So that takes me to my next question. A couple things I think about is, so why graduate from college?
Yeah, well, it is true that you can be successful without a college degree. And what we find now is that actually a 4-year degree isn't necessarily the key to success like our parents might have told us it was. You do need some sort of post-secondary training. So it could be that instead of getting a 4-year bachelor's degree, it might be a certificate or a 2-year occupational degree that is going to get you what you want in your career. But the reality is that when you look at the leaders of America, CBS just did a recent study. They surveyed 12,000 leaders. And out of those 12,000 politicians, business owners, important people in communities, 94% of that 12,000,
oh, wow.
I've got a visual here. If we have all 10 of these folks 9 of them have a college degree. So, you know, when we think about it that way, just the sheer numbers of it, you have one Mark Zuckerberg, you have one Bill Gates, but most successful adults today have a college degree. And so we know that whether, again, it's a 2-year degree or a 4-year degree, completing some sort of post-secondary education is imperative. Now, it may not need to happen right away. And so that's, maybe that's the next place to go. It's like, well, so what do we do with these young adults who are struggling in their freshman year, sophomore year, and they don't think they can finish? What should they do? When we look at groups like the American Psychological Association, and we talk to, or we get online and we read up on like mental health websites, one of the best pieces of advice for a young adult struggling with, should I go ahead and continue with school and continue to struggle? Should I drop out altogether? The advice is actually to take a kind of the middle road there and do what they call a leave of absence. So take a leave, and that could be a medical leave or just a personal leave, and you can usually go to your counseling center to begin that process, or even to the dean of students. And most colleges and universities today prefer that. It's like a little bit of a breathing space, right? Like everybody can take a breath. We can identify what is it that's happening here, take some time, maybe work with some professionals outside of the college system to address the needs that you have. And then, if you'd like to return to complete that degree here with us, that's an option. And you may choose other options at that point as well. But that leave of absence is really the most recommended path at this point.
Okay.
It's not as definite as dropping out, right?
Right. It's like taking a break.
It's like taking a break, right? And so again, most colleges and universities they already have things in place for that. And they may even have like, okay, if you take your leave, then these are the steps to re-enroll. They've already got that process put together for students who are making this decision.
Great.
Yeah.
Wow. So I know a couple of things. You know, my biggest question is what would you advise a student do during that time, during that break?
Yeah, well, so if a student is really struggling academically, then there may be things that they personally want to pursue with their background, you know, their base of knowledge. They may decide that they want to choose a new major or something that's more fitted to what they already feel that they're strong in. But the other piece of it, you know, being like that, having that emotional readiness piece, that's where a program like Trails Momentum can come in and really help a young adult develop the maturity and the confidence and have some, you know, some self-regulation, some ability to know how they're doing in that moment, be able to deal with some of that anxiety and that stress, and then be able to move forward more successfully in their life and what they want to do for themselves. So I think a program like Trails is actually a really great step for a young adult who has not been academically successful and is looking for something to help them come back from what they're perceiving at this point in their life as a huge failure. I mean, most students who drop out of college or take that leave are feeling pretty dejected, right? Like, it didn't go well, and everybody was expecting me to do so well. I did so well in high school, and now I'm here, and I'm kind of stuck, and I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And that's where we come in.
Right.
You know?
Right. A couple of things that I find with the kids that we have is that there is this kind of overwhelming sense of stress and pressure, and so the kids that we often see are kids who feel really stuck.
Yeah.
You know, and a couple of things that I've noticed is this whole idea around deprivation. So they come away from college feeling like I don't have enough time, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough,
Right.
and it begins to be this like negative feedback loop.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, they're deficit based.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
That they're thinking that they just lack all these things.
Right.
Yeah.
So they become pretty strong in their narratives on the inside that says I can't.
Right.
I mean, ultimately, the end result of those kind of narratives is I can't do this.
Right.
And so it's much easier to do video games or to go ahead and go out with everybody and hit the bars or just sit in your room and like watch Netflix.
Right.
And they don't necessarily have a sense that they are capable or an experience
Right.
that they're successful.
Right.
So yeah.
And that's the beautiful part about you know, an adventure therapy program is there's an academic component, and we help them regain success academically by giving them the option to earn college credit if they want from an accredited university, or just experience what it's like to be in a college classroom. Maybe if they're not ready for that credit pressure, but they want to be a college student again.
Yeah.
They get that feeling. But outside of that, they also have the opportunity to really connect with other people, and also to have these adventures, to go out and try something like rock climbing, to get on a mountain bike, to go whitewater rafting, and to push themselves and to learn to say I can
Right.
in ways that they never even dreamt that they would
could do it.
try.
And I,
you know?
Yeah, and I know that oftentimes after our kids go on an expedition for the weekend, and I end up seeing them as a therapist, there's changes that happen.
Yeah.
That, you know, they come back and they feel even more accomplished. They feel like they had fun. They feel like they made choices that were able to build on their own sense of self and who they are with other people.
Right. And if they can do that in our program, then they can transfer that same feeling back to the academic setting if that's their choice as they move forward.
Yeah.
So it's pretty powerful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great to be a part of that.
Yeah. Today we've had a chance to talk with you a little bit about the topic of dropping out of college. It's not a fun thing for people to think about, but it's a reality for many young adults today. We'd love to hear from you. Feel free to reach out to us.